Check another term off the coaching bingo card. Execution fuels emotion. That means that we are one day closer to Ohio State and Texas. These are snap judgments. That is Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. It's the Austin Birm Show on 97.1 The Fan, 10 TV Plus, and anywhere that you want to download the audio-only podcast. Ryan Day with a lightning round, the four captains talking for the Buckeyes as they finished up Wednesday's practice to get ready for Saturday's huge game, and we're getting all the talking points from Ryan Day. And I think, Birm, we talked about it on Tuesday, it's the locked-in version of Ryan Day.
Yeah, that's good. I was waiting for play with emotion, don't let emotion play with you to follow that
That'll be on the radio show Thursday.
Yeah, it was good. We talked to Ryan Day. We talked to the four captains, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Austin Saravell, Brandon Ennis. It was pretty much what you would have expected in here, a focus group, very to the point. A lot of people asking questions about being named a captain and being named a Block O and all the stuff that happened a week ago or so, because we haven't had a chance to speak to these guys since. So it's worth celebrating those players individually and putting Saturday a little bit to the side to just give these guys their due. When you talk to them all, they've all been through their own trials and tribulations on their time here. And Sonny Styles, he sat down and he said, I can't believe this is my last home opener. Like, this is my last couple games in the horseshoe.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's going into year 4 here is pretty insane. But it's a very interesting group. They all seem so aware of what this game means. And I think, and I hope I'm going to say this correctly, I don't think that they're looking at this game as though if they don't win, the season's over. I think that there's a proper perspective for this game, which is this game is going to show us a lot about who we are, and we can beat Texas. We can beat anybody because we're Ohio State. But I think that it is an important reminder, like, these guys are all very dialed in to the right thing. Like,
yeah, when I kick this off by talking about the coach speak from Ryan Day and some of the cliches, they are from his playbook. They're not the same things that every coach says throughout the history. I think once those are coming out, I think that gives you a read on how Ohio State is treating a game. That's the only reason I bring it up. It wasn't like, why didn't we get like crazy headlines and excitement and someone breaking a podium? I'm not asking for that or expecting it. I think when you start to get some of those things that are programmed into Ryan Day's brain and then trickles down, because when you hear his captains echoing those same things, that tells you about the buy-in in this building. What was so important on the playoff run is that narrow focus, and then buying into these simple things like not letting emotion play with you, and the execution letting you then celebrate because you win games. That to me tells me you're right. They know that they can lose a game and come back. That happened to them twice a year ago.
Yeah.
But Ohio State is preparing for this one in a different way than like any other non-conference, any other September game that I can recall, which is a high level of importance.
We've talked in the past about Ryan Day and like an NFL approach. Like, that's how I feel. Like, this feels like an NFL team getting ready to open its season against a really darn good team, and it's going to set the tone for the season, but it doesn't define the season. And I think that it doesn't rule you out from changing what happens on Saturday if it goes the wrong way. I just thought it was a very professional feel to the guys tonight. It was nobody allowing themselves to be tricked into things. And ultimately, I think Ryan Day, because of what happened at the end of last year and how the season finished with the national championship, we've talked so much about him this offseason and his new place in college football. And I think he's just really, really excited about Ohio State being on this stage on Saturday to present the program to the country in what is undoubtedly the biggest game of not just the weekend, but maybe the whole season.
Yeah. To dig even further into that, the way Ohio State is preparing for it, and this was the most specific that he's been in acknowledging that, which is like, if they were playing anybody else, you would be expecting a larger rotation of players. They'd be talking about more guys playing in this game. Yeah. They have spent August in a normal training camp is that gradual build, and then you might have one early challenge and you build, or not even a tune-up, and then a slightly more difficult challenge, and then you're ramping up to something like Texas. It doesn't work that way every single year. Yeah. 3 years ago we saw that with Notre Dame, but even in preparation for that game, it was still like zoomed out, big picture, Not everything is wrapped up into that one game. And maybe that's why some of the sloppiness and clunkiness occurred early in that game before they really put it away late. Ohio State has spent August and really 7 months circling August 30th and putting all of its emphasis on winning that game against Texas. And then you can have a training camp after that. I almost like that is how it feels to me.
I believe it was Wednesday night on the Buckeye Show with you and Brandon Beam, Tuesday night on the Buckeye Show with you and Brandon Beam, you made a point that it seems like this goal is like its own compartmentalized goal. There's the same list of like priorities every year: win the Big Ten, beat Michigan, win the national championship. And now this year it's like beat Texas, and that's like a totally different goal, but it's obviously still important because you've spent 8 months turning it into every conversation. It's like, well, there's this many days until Texas. So this team is ready. What they are, we're not going to know until Saturday, but they are ready. And they certainly are confident, but without being...
They're not arrogant.
Yeah, this is a team that I think understands where they're at and what Saturday means, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... You can tell how much it means to them, not just... Because every opener, you get to this point in camp, it's like, we got to get a new opponent.
Yeah, we got to start hitting other people.
It's time for another. But there's a different... We talked about Tuesday, the edginess, then that also comes up a lot. But, Sonny Styles came over and it's like, I'm just ready to see you guys play a game. He's like, I'd play a game right now.
Yeah.
Like they want to get to that point. They've had a full month of preparation. It wasn't going through the motions throughout this. And, I think the interesting balance is if you're putting so much emphasis and you're going to rely on those frontline starters and the top end of that depth chart, it's like, okay, well, how much does that mean for getting the depth? Like, do you have to pull back the reins at times to keep Edric Houston fully healthy, Caden McDonald fully healthy? Those guys also need to play. They have not been 50, 60 snap players yet at Ohio State. Do you need to devote some of that extra attention to building the depth? We always talk about it at defensive tackle, but that's the easiest place to begin, and that's where the most notable health setback occurred for Ohio State throughout this month. Not that it's still lingering, not that Edric Houston is in any jeopardy of playing on Saturday, but this is a different challenge because it wasn't the way that they talked about Notre Dame 3 years ago.
No, and even that, like I just think that there's such a weight off their shoulders because of the winning the national championship, but they're taking it very seriously. James Peoples was over here talking after practice to one of the strength assistants and had a pretty lengthy conversation with him. And as he was sitting there, Miles Lockhart and Aaron Scott walked by like, hey, you better go get on the jugs. He's like, gee, he was sitting, I heard him, I was standing here, and I heard him be like, well, I dropped one ball, get off my back. Like, so they're pushing each other and they're trying to get the best out of each other. Wednesday nights are where we get to see the team come off the field and get us a chance to eyeball things. Mm-hmm. I did not see a boot on Jason Moore any longer. However, Maxwell Roy was in a boot and a booter. So they're just trading that up in the defensive tackle room apparently, but nothing else that I saw seemed to be of any concern. Will Smith had a brace on his arm, but nothing that seemed to be
a lot hindering. Of those defensive linemen have had that throughout the month. You asked Caden Curry about that a few weeks ago. It's like, no, it looks cool, right?
It looks cool, but it's also I think there's a little protection and a little help for the what's the thing that everyone tears? The labrum.
So rotator cuff?
No, the labrum.
Labrum?
Most of the time, it's only pitchers who throw rotator cuffs.
Okay. Well, I'm not a doctor.
What did you hear anything from Caleb Downs or from Brandon Ennis over there that made you be like, huh? Because those are like Brandon's the fire guy. Like, I think that's what's interesting about these captains is that there's three pretty mellow fellows, and then you have the most intense fire burning like 1,000 suns guy that you could have with Brandon Ennis.
Do you know what I think when we've talked about Sonny and becoming that less serious version of himself, at least publicly, and like smiling, I think once the doors are closed over there, he is pretty fiery. Yeah. I think he knows when to flip the switch on and off. A lot like Cody Simon, a lot like the previous Block O. I think that's sort of how you get that. If you don't have that ability and that competitive fire, the people in that locker room are going to know that. And that's why I think Sonny was the no-brainer choice to get the Block O. But I think to suggest that, like, I think Brandon Ennis plays with such a swagger and a confidence, and he's not afraid to speak his mind. But Sonny's found some of that too. And I think when you listen to him, you can pick up on that. And it's very different. And I just think it's going to be really cool to watch how that transpires. Because you mentioned this, and even this leadership group and the captains, like, they're not the traditional 4-year seniors. You have Austin Serveld at the end of year 3, Brandon Ennis at the end of year 3, Caleb Downs
start of year 3.
Second. Sorry, maybe skipping ahead there. Into year 3.
Yeah.
2 years now, the start of his second year for Caleb Downs. Now Sonny, in that regards, is the
Sonny,
elder.
He's the old guy.
He's somehow the elder statesman of that. So, I think it's an interesting dynamic, and it applies to the whole team because we know what the talent and upside is, and they've got to get to something like Saturday to really start showing that.
Sonny was asked about coverage because that was how Texas scored their 2 touchdowns a year ago, and said he feels like he's gotten a lot better in zone pass coverage, but also man-to-man stuff, doing a lot of that. He said getting a lot of work with the Ohio State tight ends, which is different, of course, than covering a running back. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But this team just seems to be very calm, which I think is a reflection of Ryan Day. Like, it's a calm confidence. It is not we've got to go out. There's no Jack Sawyer, nobody out here dropping F-bombs to be like, we got to go out there and beat their, whatever. But there's it's just a calm sea right now.
Yeah. It won't be that calm on Saturday at noon. And that was the other part. You heard, Brandon Ennis asking, people to be loud, and he's echoing the same things, which is going back to the very start of Snap Judgments, echoing the same talking points as the head coach. Like, it really does trickle down, and it is a reminder that this building has a unified vision. When Brandon Ennis is saying, we need people to be loud so that they have to go to a silent count, he's an offensive player.
Yeah.
And he's echoing the same thing. He knows that importance and what that would mean to the Ohio State defense. Like, that part I think is important. It doesn't mean that they're going to definitely win on Saturday, but you can't say that there is any misalignment still with this program. Not that anyone is saying that there is, because they're coming off the heels of a national championship, but the same buy-in that fueled that title run a year ago, I think very much exists still now.
I just think there's so much negativity around college football in the last few years, and all of the changes that are happening, and the playoff expansion and NIL and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, this season opener is exactly what college football is supposed to be about. And I hope, obviously we all want Ohio State. I want Ohio State to win. I'm going to say it out loud. You won't say that. I will. I want Ohio State to win. You can mask your opinion
picking
and say,
Ohio
I
State
think Ohio State will win, but I want them to win. I hope that people appreciate the grandeur of college football on Saturday, because it is hard to imagine a season opener or any regular season game that's going to carry the weight of this one, from the way that game is going. And again, get there early. They're going to unveil the 2024.
Oof, it's like the Rock out here with the goosebumps.
They're going to unveil the 2024 national championship banner, I assume. Get in there early and celebrate. Make it so Texas can't even hear in warmups.
Oh, so that they're reconsidering whether they want to play football.
Yes. Now you get it.
Okay.
It's about time. I was wondering when you'd finally come around to my way of thinking.
It's a callback. If you missed Wednesday's version of the Beat Stock Watch, it was a very interesting start. And if you did watch it, obviously you know what I'm talking about.
I like football.
Yeah, football is great. And we are one day closer to Ohio State and Texas. Number 1 versus number 2 in the coaches poll, the only poll of any substance. These have been Snap Judgments. It's the last one until after the game on Saturday, because the Buckeyes are done with media availability for the week. Ryan Day does have his coaches call-in show on Thursday. I believe that is brought to you by Roosters, the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, and the live show. We have the Beat on Thursday. Mm-hmm. We have Freaky Friday. It's on Friday. Mm-hmm. We are going to be at the O on Lane.
Over there.
That's over there. That's 2:30 on Friday. That'll be a live version of the show. We're going to take, and we'd love your mailbag questions to answer that and maybe guide that conversation as we wrap up the week, because that will be on the 97.1 The Fan YouTube channel. So that's all still coming. We've got a couple interviews that are going to be part of that extended version of Bold Peas on Freaky Friday. Won't spoil that for you, but a couple captains did join the show. You'll have to guess and wait and see who they really are. But that's it from Snap Judgments. The last time in the Woody this week. Thanks so much for joining us. Still more content coming your way for Ohio State and Texas, noon Saturday in the Horseshoe. He's Birm. I'm Austin. We'll talk to you later.